Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to take a look at how to conduct simple descriptive analysis for our social media data. In the previous session, we have collected the Twitter data for this analysis, and now we can start from the analysis. So the first analysis we are going to do is to find the unique users that are talking about avocado. So we can use the unique function in R to find unique users. So we're going to create a users list, and then we're going to identify the unique users from all the users in our Twitter dataset. So as you can see, there are the length of the users list is 812. This means we have 812 unique users from our dataset. So apparently some of the users have posted more than one tweets about avocado. That's why overall we have 1,000 tweets, but we only have 812 users. So for this descriptive analysis, we can also learn some other things about our users. For example, we can try to see what are the sources they're posting their tweet. So in here, we are going to create a very simple bar chart to show the frequency of the different sources where users post their tweet. We're going to use the ggplot library, which is what we have been using since last lab for the plots. And in order to create a bar chart for the source frequency, we're going to first create a frequency table for the sources. So in here, we are using the table function to create a frequency table for the source column from Twitter 1 dataset. And then we are turning this result into a data frame, and we are naming it as source FQ. So if you open your source FQ, you see that right now the column names are default names that is being used by R. So if you want to customize this name, you can actually use the set names function to add column names to change the column names. So we are going to change the column names into source and frequency. So if you run this line and then reopen the source FQ, you'll see that the first column is going to be source and the second column is going to be frequency. So now we can create a bar chart to show the frequency for each different source. So let's create a very simple version first. In this very simple version, we're just going to simply visualize the bar chart based on the frequency table. That's why in here we are defining the data as source FQ, and then we are using the source as x-axis, the frequency as the y-axis, and we are simply creating a bar chart. And let's see what kind of chart would we generate. So right now, if you look at this bar chart, it's not a very good design. So you cannot see any of the source labels, and also this chart is not in the normal sequence. So for this type of frequency visualization, we'll usually see like the highest frequency listed in the first one, and then throughout this entire bar graph, we'll be seeing it decreasing. But in here, we don't see like a particular sequence in here, and also this graph is pretty boring. It's like in the same color. So let's see how can we make the visualization much better by adding more arguments into this ggplot function. So the next thing I want to add is let's reorder the x-axis based on the frequency. So we're going to reorder the sources based on a decreasing order for the frequency. So this is what we're adding. So we're saying that x is reorder source and then based on the frequency. So now if you look at our graph, it looks a little bit better than before. Now you have like the order in the correct way that we want it to be. But as you can tell, there are still some issues. The X label issue was not fixed. In addition, now we have like an X-axis label issue as well. So now let's see what else can we do, and we will gradually fix all this. So the next thing I want to show you is to change the color. So we can actually color the bars based on one of the variables. So we could either change, so the field is how do we color the bars. So we could either use the frequency to color the bars. We can also use the source to color the bars. So let me show you both examples. So this is if we are going to use the frequency as the color of the bars, and this is how it's going to look like. And if you're going to use the source as the color, and this is how it's going to look like. And so for the source one, this one looks. So this one apparently has some labeling issue. We'll fix those later on. So next, I want to show you if you want to fix the x-axis label issue, and if you also want to add a title to your graph, what we can do is that we can add we can add a title, and we can also add the x labels using these 3 arguments. So let's add this. So after we do this, it looks a little bit better, right? So right now we have the title, we have the x and y axis title fixed. And the next thing I want to show you is that if you want to remove this legend, so if we are coloring the bars based on the frequency, the legend is not an issue. However, if you're coloring the bars with the source, then you have too many legends on the right side, which will push your main visualization towards the left. If you want to address that issue, you can actually remove the legends. So what we can do is that we can add another argument where we will say that the legend position equals to none, so we can remove the legend. So let's take a look at what will happen if you remove the legend. So this will leave you only the bar chart in this graph. Now, the last thing I want to show you how to fix is how can you show all the different labels for the x-axis. So what we can do is that we can actually change the position, the angle of your text. So this new argument is where we can change the angle for the x label. So for the angle, we're going to change it to 45 degree, and let's see how would that change our visualization. So now you will see that when we change the angle of the text, all the text will be in 45 degree. So now we can see all the different sources clearly. So now we have a much better visualization comparing to when we first started. So now for your turn, can you please try to create a histogram for the top 10 sources and color the bar based on the frequency, name the title as top 10 resources for avocado post, keep the legend, rotate the X label for 90 degrees, and see how that goes. Okay, so here is the solution. So the hint for you to do in here is you can create a subset data with the top 10 sources, and let's create that. So the top 10 sources table we have created is like this. Okay, so now we can actually do a ggplot based on our requirement. And if you want to change your color scheme, so right now our color scheme is like the default color scheme. If you want to change your color scheme, you can add another argument where for your scale fill guardian, you can change the name of the color template. For example, if you're going to use rainbow, this is how our visualization will be changed into. Yes, so if you're interested, you can Google ggplot too, and then learn about the different arguments and the different options for maybe the colors and things like that. So that's for the analysis for the sources. We can also do some other simple descriptive analysis to have a better understanding of our data. For example, what is the favorite count of all these different tweets? What is the mean? What is the histogram? So we can do some statistic analysis for our data. For example, the histogram for the tweet favorite count is following a power law distribution, where most of them are probably around 1 or 2 or so. If you look at the mean of our retweet is only 2.96, so they don't get retweeted a lot. If you want to plot this histogram using ggplot, you can use the ggplot function and then choose the bar chart, which is what we just did for the sources. So this will give you a very similar visualization as if you're using the default histogram function. So after knowing the favorite count, we can also take a look at the retweet count for each of the tweet. And same thing, we can create a histogram. We can take a look at the mean. Before I meant for the favorite count, it was 2.96, 2.965 retweets or favorites, and then the retweet is actually even lower. So they only get on average 0.317 retweets, which meaning that most of the tweets actually doesn't get retweeted at all, which follows how most of the tweets looks like in Twitter. So now it's your turn. Can you create the second histogram for the retweet using ggplot too? So we could do the same thing. We can use ggplot. The data is Twitter 1, and then we are going to plot the retweet count as our x-axis, and we are going to use the bar plot, and we are going to add some labels to the x and y axis, and then add a title. And here is the plot for the retweet histogram for 1,000 avocado post. So if you want to get to know more about your data, for example, if you want to know which tweet or whose tweet gets the most retweeted, then we can also take a look at that. So we can first find out the maximum retweet count from our data set, and then we can search in our Twitter one data set, find out the Twitter, the username, the user screen name for that tweet, which is the maximum count in our data set. So let's run this, and if you look at the screen name, it's actually Mike GOVE12, and if you want to see all his information, then you can create a new data set. In this new data set, you're going to look into Twitter 1, and you're going to find all the records where the tweet count equals to the maximum of the retweet count. So if we do that and open up the top poster, you will see that so Mike GOV12's tweet is the one that got the most retweet. So the number of retweet he got is 155.